G'day guys, Cyanide here. I thought it would be neat for the first video of 2017 to introduce a new build because I just thought it would be neat. So the new build will be a sedan, rat rod, diesel, and you may be wondering why I've got the camera here on The Rust Never Sleeps. One of the reasons I'm actually starting this build now, before the other ones are complete, is because right here I've got a pattern. So, before I finish this and it's auctioned off and I don't have access to it anymore, I'm going to measure the chassis rails and get data from this and replicate this chassis to a certain degree at least for the sedan. The other cool thing is with the sedan I'll be able to use the same cardboard pattern for the cowl and the firewall, which I've got sitting over here in a pile. So some of the things that I've done for this build I'll be able to replicate for the sedan in the hope that it will make the build that much quicker, because I don't have to actually think about a lot of what I'm doing. I just gotta paint by numbers and do what I did before, and because it's hand built there'll be variations and differences, but it should be pretty much within Kui's range. So I'll get this off here and I'll get the parts that I have so far for the sedan. Okay, so when I do builds, generally it starts off as an idea obviously, and then after that it becomes some parts turn up in the mail. I generally, for each of my builds, I have a box, usually with a name written on it of the build, and I just start throwing parts into that box as I collect them over time, and it could be like 6 months before I start the build while I'm buying up, collecting parts slowly and surely. So for now this is the box, and they are the parts. Most of these parts are just bits and pieces I've got out of my scrap bins or spare parts from other orders. So I may not use that motor, so forget that. I have these left over from another build. These are part number there if you're interested. They're just the basic plastic punisher shafts. I've got 2 of them sitting around that I haven't used. These were brought way back when I was building Fat Betty or maybe Wolf Spider, and I didn't want to spend top dollar on flash drive shafts while I was prototyping and things like that, so I used these just to get my idea of how the setup was going to work, and then I knew what size drive shafts to buy. So these are surplus to requirement, been sitting around forever, so they're going on it. An old aluminium servo horn. You just collect parts over time when you do lots of builds. I have alloy hubs, part number there. These will be from when I brought the hubs for the sister, so I'm going to use the same front end. So that's the axles as well, the little output shafts. Okay, they will go on to these, which are RC4 drive, part number 1.7 beadlocks, OEM stamped. I need to buy another 4 of these because I've only got 2 and I need 4 of them. So using those. I'm using those with these here. There you go. These are the retread 1.7 commercial 1/14 scale semi-truck tyre. They're a nice skinny tyre. These are the same as the ones that I'm using on the sister. And you can mount them onto the rims. You just got to modify the inner bead ring, replace it with your own bead ring, and they'll go together. On the back I'm using these ones, which are RC4 drive There's the part number there. These ones here are the super wide hauler tyre, 1/14 scale truck, 1.7. So these have a slightly larger diameter, not by much, and they're wider. So you got to visualise one of those old rat rod sedans where they have the skinny tall tyres, front and rear. That's the sort of look we're going for here. And like I mentioned in that other video, I always start with the shoes. So I'll get those squared away and then I'll start building up. I have a spare one of these, disruptor. I've had this forever, man. I can't even remember what build I was planning on getting this for. So it's going to see the light of day finally. I have these leaf springs left over from the mod I did on the Rust Never Sleeps. These are the short replacement ones. Part number there, if you're interested. And also I've got this left over from when I was prototyping the front end axles, so I'll put that to use. I also have another set of the ultimate scale shocks here. Part number there for you if you're interested. And also I got another set of those tiny little 1/18 scale shocks from Merciful Drive. Also piece of mini plywood. And yeah, I know you're thinking this guy's losing his bloody marbles now, but nah. I was looking at this the other night on the other build, the Rust Never Sleeps, and I thought it would be quite funny to have like a slab of plywood as a dash. And I don't really want to do that for the Rust Never Sleeps. I want a steel dash, but I thought for this one I might just make it a wee bit more hokey and thrown together, a bit more bitsy. So I'm going to use that as a dash, I think. Either that or a seat. The other things I've got is, I'm a fanboy of cheap key rings. So you've got the little wax pistons for the cheese fest, you know, the classic pistons on the back sort of thing, like the welder up rat rod. This is another keychain of a shifter. See that there? So that's probably going to go inside it. It didn't really suit the Rust Never Sleeps, so I might use it in this one. And you can actually shift that spring-loaded thing. And the other thing is this keychain here of the turbo. And that brings me on to the next cool little thing I have brought that's turned up in the mail. And that's this guy. Let me zoom in there. This is a 4-cylinder diesel YC4W. That's Yuchai Machinery Works or company from China, and I got this for about 78 bucks on eBay. This is inspired by the idea that Josh over at RC Everyday had with his build for his pickup, and he's using this green 6-cylinder diesel, and this is pretty much the same sort of deal. It's got lots of detail, and what I'll do is actually I'll go out to the workshop now. I'll stick this into the paint booth where I've got good lighting, and I'll do a 360 of it so you can. So you can see this diesel engine. It's pretty well detailed. It's got little filters, pumps, dipsticks, exhaust manifolds, and various other little bits and pieces. It's the engine and the gearbox. You got the belts on the front there. It was missing one of those, and I just put a little black rubber band on there, and it's done the trick. On the front you got the alternator here, and so you can see that on that side. You got the alternator, starter motor, solenoid, and other bits and pieces. It's got this tiny little servo here, that's what I'm going to remove and put one of those big ones on there. It may be out of scale, but it's a rat rod and it's also a toy, so you know, you have freedom there. Yeah, it's a very nicely detailed die-cast engine. So that's going to go in the front of the sedan. Yeah, it's looking good. I like the look of that, so I'll get back inside again and continue this discussion. Okay, so I just set this up to try and give you a rough idea of my thoughts. The diesel, the 4-cylinder diesel here, is roughly about the same size as the RC4 drive V8, so I know it should look and fit in the front if I use the same kind of chassis dimensions. Just pretend this isn't the Roadster for a moment. The sedan will have the same firewall and cowl, different size rear wheels, not slicks. I think I'm going to see if I can drop it lower than this one. This one here is about 10 to 12 mil off the ground. I'm going to aim for 5 mil on the sedan. What I want to do with that one, you know the deal, it comes up here, it's got a roof, it comes down. So it'll be one of the longer ones, I think. It's like 2.5. It's like not the shorter wheelbase one. So I will be using this frame plan pretty much, but I'll probably extend these rails here will be a bit longer, so I can get another, like a half door in here. It's going to be chopped and dropped and channeled and all the cliches that go along with those things. It's going to, at the moment I'm thinking red rims with white wheels, tyres, but we'll see. Sometimes you have the greatest plans in the world, but as the builds progress, they pretty much tell you later on how they're going to be. So that's it really. It's going to have an open top roof, which would be quite handy for getting your hands in there to get stuff. Because these motors here do not have the capacity to store a actual electronic motor, like the RC4 drive V8s, that you can have your engine here but also have your motor hidden inside it, and the transmission is a working transmission. This is all cosmetic, so I cannot have any of the drive chain up here at all in the sedan. So my thinking at this stage is to put this here up front, make it all look the pretty part, and in the back here where these rear windows are, I'll mount the engine and the disruptor up here above the axle, and the drive shaft will go forward, and it'll go into a transfer case and then back to the axle. That idea I pretty much pinched from Motor Trend channel, the Roadkill. Stubby Bob, I think they call it, that truck where they put the big engine in the back and they double back with this kind of weird transfer case out of a jet boat. That's pretty much where I got that idea from. So the motor's going to be facing the wrong direction, and I'm pretty much going to go zip tie it back around. So that way I can hide the engine and other bits and bobs up here, keep the cab clear for the scale interior. And this will just be purely visual and cosmetic. That's the plan at this stage. So having an open top roof will allow you to get down to access parts. Other than that, I'll probably try and do as much the same as I'm doing this one. This will allow me to spit stuff out faster. In theory, you know me, my builds aren't breaking any speed records. So yeah, that's going to be a 2017 build. So my ideas with this build is visually is to have it a dark and dirty matte black number, kind of like the Grim Reaper or a Coroner or a hearse type number. Or the other thing I also think would be quite interesting is an ambulance type number, which would mean it'd be white with a lot of rusty patina coming through and a big red cross here, or alternatively a iron oxide cross on on the door. So yeah, I'm not too sure exactly of the look yet, and you know, if you guys have got ideas or you've seen photos on the internet, you know, flick me a link in the comments. It'd be quite interesting to bounce ideas off you guys to see what comes out. But those are the ideas I'm thinking, either dark, black, mean, kind of grim type styles, or a rusted old ambulance paddock hack, you know, barn find type thing. So yeah, that's the plan with this build. It might just be a box of parts for a long time yet, but that's how they start, you know. That's how this build started. It was a box of parts and an idea a long time before I announced it on the channel and started the build, because the parts are kind of expensive, man, and I'm not shitting money, so you know, it takes me a wee while to get them together. I still have axles and the transfer case coming for the sedan, and you know, this was $78 US plus shipping, this diesel engine, and you know, it all adds up. So I can't just have an idea, get online and buy all the parts and have them all turn up and giddy up. It takes time. But I think over the next wee while I'll definitely at least cut the rails, get the chassis rails ready in a prefab. I might not weld them all up and all that sort of stuff, but I'm definitely going to use this car here to replicate the rails as best I can, as quickly as I can, and yeah, it should be fun. I don't have a name for this project yet. I always name my projects. It's cars have an attitude, and so you got to name them, you know. So yeah, don't know. Anyway, guys, that's first video for 2017, introducing a new idea for a new project and showing you some of the parts. And yeah, probably from here on in we'll get back into this roadster build itself and focus on that, because I really do want to focus on that and get that done. So but I'll do some sneaky builds of this, starting the sedan in the background anyway, because you know, it'll be fun. Alright guys, catch you later.
Never saw that big old diesel, but I heard he hit the air. I got a feeling that I might have made him mad. When he closed the gap between us, put the pedal on the floor. He's making 90 in that big old diesel truck. I can hear the names he's calling me.